Now, on May 29, 2007, General Olusegun Obasanjo, two-time president and commander-in-chief of the Nigerian Armed Forces, stepped down as the longest ruling leader Nigeria has ever known and the first to govern the country twice as military head of state and as elected president. For more than a decade, 1976 to 1979 and 1999 to 2007, his administration's reform policies reached deep into the lives of the Nigerian people, placing new dreams in millions of hearts and giving so much cause for hope. He brought satellites and space technology, computers, the internet and mobile phones, a war on corruption, changes to the banking sector, and the removal of a crippling foreign debt. Reforms that allowed Nigerians to look forward with hope beyond anything they'd dreamed possible after decades of military rule. Well, as President Obasanjo turns 88, we look back at the Obasanjo years and the changes he introduced that helped transform Nigeria for a time before it collapsed back into the rotting vegetation after he left office. Well, for more on this, I'm joined now in the studio by the former governor of Imo State, Senator Rochas. Okorocha. How nice to see you again.
Great.
I was telling somebody that you and I were on the 10th floor yesterday.
That's right.
And it never occurred to me to say, hey. But of course, my producer, Benga Ashiru, was smart enough to say, hey,
I know.
Let's grab the former governor and senator. So good to see you.
Thank you.
Give us a glimpse into the impact President Obasanjo has had on this country. How would you assess his time in office?
Well, first, let me just salute the great elder statesman, a former president of this great nation, who has paid his dues and made his marks. Obasanjo is such a unique man, and who knows what he wants and how to get it, and there's no doubt about his personality. As a president, he did well. He did well. And give it to him. He knows how to choose his lieutenants and those who work with him. And
that's key, isn't it?
Very key. And
because you yourself were in charge of a state, so you must know that without those lieutenants, it's going to be a challenge.
This is what, and he knows how to pick the best. In fact, Obasanjo can pick somebody he doesn't even like. For once, he can do the job, just to take the credit, and that's it. So I think summarily he did very well as a president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, bringing telecommunication, the computer, and, trying to leapfrog into the new world economy at that time. So he's a man of vision.
Indeed. And of course, outside office, the office of president, he has continued as an activist, probably the only former president in this country who has been as vocal as he has been in holding subsequent leaders to account. I mean, how unusual is that for a former president in Nigeria?
You know what? I think he's, I don't know the kind of energy he has. It takes energy to do all that he does. I mean, given his age at 88 and still strong, aging gracefully, one would wonder
he's physically very strong,
what kind of stuff he's made of. He will beat any 20 years on the track. So that energy is something that is quite unique, and I don't know. He needs to tell the world how he lives his life, what he does, to be able to, at that age, still remain that strong. And of course, he's a fearless gentleman who says what he wants to say the way he wants to say it, no matter who else he's got. He doesn't keep anything back. And I think what makes him unique, I'm thinking now, just like I'm wondering what makes him unique is that he doesn't keep grudges. He doesn't hold anything back. He deals with it there and finish with it and go back and sleep. So I don't think, he sleeps well, I must guess, so he doesn't go back to the bed with all the problems of the world.
Well, some would argue that, to the contrary, that his persistence in holding subsequent leaders to account comes from the pain of seeing a lot of what he put in place being subsequently destroyed by successive governments.
Well, I don't know that. I mean, I don't share that opinion with you because Obasanjo, yes, he sets his agenda, he achieves whatever he set for himself, and if you cross the way when he's focused on something, he will fight. And that makes him the fighter that you know. So because
he'll put on his boxers and come out.
And I tell you, it's not even whether you are his friend or his son or daughter. Anybody that crosses the way on his mission, he must fight. That's who he is. So people tend to mistake that to being holding grudges or trying to, keep malice or fight for. It's just that vision, that thing, and his love of the country is very key because Obasanjo's, when I tell people that he's patriotic, his patriotism is not in the fear of the law, but in the love of his country. He professed Nigeria, he proclaimed Nigeria, he takes Nigeria and even Africa to some extent. So I think that's what makes him unique.
And just remind us of some of the seminal institutions that he put in place in Nigeria. The EFCC is, of course, one of them, underscoring his determination to fight corruption.
Yeah. Of course, he put EFCC to fight corruption. He believes that corruption is a major problem, as at that time. And to shock you, I was one of the first victims of that.
But you got away with it, didn't you?
Yeah, but it was at that time. It was what we call misinformation, wrong information. I had little settled down as chairman of Nigerian Expert Management Agency. I've not even attended the first board meeting, and I was thought to have been found corrupt because somebody political going on. So there are political cases that make you that tend to create that kind of scenario, which is not true. So, but later, reconciliation took place, and it was found not to be true. So, but that does not stop him. That does not stop him from pursuing what he thinks is good for the nation.
And in pursuing corruption, do you think he was fighting a losing battle in Nigeria?
Corruption, again, must be redefined to some extent. And that's a problem. That's why people perceive fighting corruption as witch hunting to some extent, and some people see it as something being done for the good of the nation. Now, in the case of Obasanjo believes that office holders must be held accountable for whatever it is that he wants to achieve.
For whatever they're doing.
For whatever they're doing.
But that's right, though,
that's exactly what he believes, and that's quite good. But, some people at some point want to fight corruption, and some want to prevent corruption. You see, there are two different things. I think, Obasanjo's case, he was more or less preventing corruption than fighting corruption. So the thing anti-corruption was, to scare people, to see it as something that you can pay dearly for.
Well, it's better to prevent it than let it happen.
That's the point. But to some other people, it's like, okay, let's look for whatever can get you involved into trouble, what I call pepperization in the fight against corruption.
Right.
So even if you have done the work and paper is not right, you are guilty, that kind of thing. So there are two different scenarios here, but all is for the good of the nation.
But of course, beyond corruption, I mean, he made a lot of political enemies, didn't he? I mean, not least the current president, Bola Tinubu, whose party, the Alliance for Democracy, President Obasanjo tried to crush more than 20 years ago.
Well, does Obasanjo really have a political enemy? I think you can make Obasanjo your enemy at a point because of his particular political interests at that time. Everyone has political interests. But deep down in his heart, are you really his enemy? That's the question I ask. Because some of us have been hurt by the same man called President Obasanjo in the past. But yes, we're best of friends. So Obasanjo really don't know what is called enemy in the real sense of it. He fights the battle, he lives it there.
Right.
But that time he's pursuing that interest. That does not mean that's enemy. I'm sure Obasanjo today does not hold anything against the president, the current President Tinubu. And I'm not think President Tinubu holds anything against him.
Right. But how much do you think the ground has shifted since Mr. Obasanjo left office? Has Nigeria shifted more towards a more dystopian future since then? Because everybody uses his time in office as the hallmark for judging progress in this country since 1999.
Now again, this is a very tight, analysis, if you want to put it that way. You don't use one government to judge another government.
Well,
so
you certainly look at progress.
Yes, no, progress. But I tell you what, the style are quite different. Obasanjo's style and Tinubu's style are quite two different things. Now, what Tinubu is doing right now is a strange kind of administration to Nigerians, but which is most likely to yield fruits at the end of it all. It's about style.
You mean the reforms?
The reforms he's doing now.
Yeah, but Obasanjo put in a lot of reforms as well.
Yes.
You mentioned the EFCC.
Yes,
you mentioned a lot of things.
Yeah, but you see...
But people could see the results.
No.
And that's why people clap for him.
Okay, I tell you something.
Yeah.
You could go for a business and want a quick return on investment. You could go for business and go for a longer return on investment. These are two different styles, and Nigerians must understand that Tinubu's style is quite different from Obasanjo's style. They're quite two different things. Now I tell you, let me give you an example. What I think about this administration. I'm here to talk about Tinubu. Sure. We are trying to, you guys are very smart. You don't want to put me into politics now, but I'll say this: that if Tinubu succeeds in his tax reforms, as painful as it is, and able to show up tax where it needs to be, Nigeria will be smiling home in a couple of years to come. Yeah, but another person would say, I'll give you an example.
Sure.
Now, let me put this so I can understand. If you go to a man's house, there's this story of a man, a poor man. I'm not saying our nation is poor anyway, but a poor man that has a lot of children, and brought a piece of yam and gave to his wife. And the wife said, listen, we have a lot of children in this house. I have kids. And we brought only one piece of yam. Should I cook all of them now? What are we going to eat tomorrow? Now, the husband came back very angry and said, I said, cook for the children. He said, but I just got 1/4 of it to cook so you can eat. But children are eating and crying. And this one will eat all and not know what happens tomorrow. So these are the scenario, depend on leaders and how to take it. So he's not here to apportion blame and this about this president doing well, this president not doing well.
I mean, the bottom line is how whatever government is in power affects the lives of the people. Yeah. That's number one. Things like insecurity, things like jobs, things like disposable income. I mean, Obasanjo created jobs. There were lots of jobs. Obasanjo got the international community to cancel Nigeria's debt completely. And a lot of that money was reinvested in the country. I mean...
I'm not here to make an excuse for any government.
Yeah, I understand.
I'm just trying to let you understand how...
Right.
And I want to use my personal life to this.
I understand.
I tell you something. No, just listen to me. I'll tell you something. I say, I was growing up. I was such an asset to my parents, glory to God, and such that I didn't want to see my parents cry, neither did I want my siblings worry about anything. So at every given time, you know what I do? Whenever I make money, I just bring and share the money around home. Until one day my father called me and said, no, we're not going to die. We won't die. We won't die. Build this business first. So that when it comes, it can come big. So these are scenarios. Yeah, it will not be proper to adjudge two governments, so to say, whether you judge Buhari's government, vis-a-vis Tinubu's government, and this. What if the government decides to import today 1 trillion metric tons of rice and bring the price down to 5 naira, or bring fuel now to 3 naira, and we'll continue transferring the responsibility to future generations? Now, have you asked yourself a question? Why is it that every president that is in the past is better than the one coming?
Well, that's precisely what President Obasanjo tried to eliminate by getting the debt, which would have been transferred to future generations, cancelled. But let's not get bogged down.
No, but I can tell about that.
Because we're running out of time.
I think about the $18 billion debt that was cleared at that time, or what?
Yeah, the debt, Nigeria's debt to multilateral corporations
did that
and bilateral
was help the nation a lot.
Yeah,
Another president will also say, let's not pay that debt and reinvest that 18 billion for further production or for further things. This is our perspective.
Right. Okay. Well, let's move away from that, because President Obasanjo, of course, supported Peter Obi during the 2023 presidential election in preference to other candidates, including his own former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. What do you think informed his decision to do that? Because he said publicly that Mr. Obi was simply the best candidate, the least corrupt of the lot. Do you think it was just that, or do you think the personality clashes he had with Atiku were still, after all those years, never far from the surface?
No, I think the statement that drove Peter Obi's candidacy is the fact that the Southeast has never produced a president of Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Right, that's what informed Obasanjo's support.
That is the major sentiment that cut across the entire length and breadth of the nation and those who sympathize with the Southeast. It wasn't necessarily on pure capacity and capability or merit, but the fact that every Igbo man at that point, every person in this country felt that the Southeast has never been given an opportunity to give a shot at the presidency of this country. I mean, this is how I say it. And being a statesman, he made mention that he should be to the Southeast.
Do you know him on a personal level? I mean, if so, how do you yourself get on with him? I mean, he's sometimes been described as being quite abrasive, even cantankerous as a person.
No, that is if you don't know him. Let me tell you what. You know, Obasanjo likes... he doesn't like so much of tension. He has a way of easing his tension. I was his advisor on inter-party affairs, and I remember walking up to him one day. I said, Mr. President, you know, we contested presidency together, so we're all PAs, presidential attempted. And he laughed, and I said to him, you know, well done, you're doing a good job, but all the good things you did as the president was all the ones I advised you. But the bad ones you did was when I traveled out of the country. I mean, he's such a man that can relate with people, and, you know, he likes jokes a lot to ease tension. And you know, one thing that's unique about him, he doesn't relate with you because you are a producer, or because you're a president or a governor. Obasanjo relates to everyone the same. You know, for him, there's no high and mighty. Human being is human being. So I give him that. I was his advisor, and I enjoyed working with him. But sometimes it's easily misunderstood. Easily misunderstood. And he doesn't hold anything back in his mind, which is one thing I give to him. Most of the people I assume to be his enemies are his friends today. And so you see him Obasanjo, leave him Obasanjo, come back tomorrow and see him Obasanjo. Hey, Obasanjo is everywhere. That's it. I mean, that's it.
Of course, we have you here, I mean, which is something we don't have every day.
Yes.
You were a former governor of Imo State, a former senator. What are you doing these days, I mean, from your a political point of view?
Sabbatical. I just faced
you're on a break. You've had enough.
I just faced my foundation. You know, I have the Rochas Foundation.
Right, tell us about that foundation.
Well, I have an educational foundation with over 31,000 children from across African countries, and we have so many schools in all geopolitical zones of the country, and over 10,000 of them in the university, and over 7,000 graduates doing well, lawyers, police, army officers. So that gives me some kind of joy. Last week I had to take 80 of my children to the University of Jos, reading law and medicine from different African countries. So this is what I'm doing now. I'm focusing on the foundation. And that's keeping me busy now. And where we can give advice, we'll throw in some advice. That's what I'm doing now.
But of course, you are still a politician.
Of course.
And you're still a member of the APC.
You know, I tell you about what is called this politics. You know, for a politician, when you say the word politician, to some people it sounds like a curse. For some people it sounds like you're joking or a dishonest person. I'm in politics for one thing, my friend. I'm in politics to give me a leverage to do more of what I could do. Like when I was a governor, it was easy for me to introduce free education at all levels. The same thing that is in me. So politics gives you opportunity to bring out the real person in you, or what you have done in your own private, your own person, but funds and and power could not allow you. So when you become a president or governor, you see the person doing that, which he would have done in his private capacity, but was not able to do because of the scope of capacity, you know. So for me, politics is a place to give and not a place to take, and, you know, do your best to leverage the common man on the streets.
Well, on that note, I want to thank you very much indeed. It's been brilliant having you here. And I do have to, I concede the fact that you were here to talk essentially about...
Yes, you moved me out.
No, but it was good to get you to talk a little bit about yourself, because people are always interested in knowing a little bit about the people that we're actually interviewing. But thank you very much indeed. Senator Rochas Okorocha was the former governor of Imo State and, of course, a former advisor to President Obasanjo. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Good to see you again.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's it for this edition of Arise Prime Time. Join us again tomorrow. From me and the entire team here in Abuja, bye-bye, and thank you for watching.